everybody? Wienerfight.com back at you. Man, I just got back from Florida. What an awesome little vacation down there. I really love going to Florida. So, you know, while I was down there, I made kind of a little short video. Some of you may have already seen it. You know, just basically kind of talking shit about, you know, Georgia and Florida governors Brian Kemp and Ron DeSantis. And really, I was kind of focusing on the badassery of the South Dakota governor, Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem? Noem. Yeah, Kristi Noem. Man, she's a hottie too, man. She's a really good looking girl. If she ever gets bored of her dude, she should give me a call. But here's the funny thing about it, though. I guess maybe not so much funny, haha, but, you know, it really still bothers me how everybody keeps talking about Ron DeSantis and how much good he's done. And he has done some good. He's done a lot of good, man. Florida's a badass state. I'm going to get into some statistics here in a minute about Florida and Georgia and some other things. Here's the thing, you know, I've said this in other episodes, specifically in my very first, you know, in the beginning episodes, I kind of mentioned that I was never going to vote again. And I really am considering taking that option. Everybody always says, well, you know, not voting is still a vote, and you're damn right. You're damn right. Not voting at all is absolutely still voting some kind of way. Okay? But here's the thing. If our elections are going to be stolen anyway, then what fucking difference does it make? As far as I'm concerned. Now, I'm not going to focus so much on Ron DeSantis as I am about Brian Kemp because I live in Georgia. I am not a Georgia native. I've only been here for about 5 years. I was stationed down in Savannah in the late 90s, but, you know, I've only been here this time for about 5 years. We came here in 2016. You know, I kind of go where I can make the most money. As a contractor, you know, I follow the construction trends. And so Atlanta just happens to be one of those cities that is never going to stop growing. It is a huge city. I believe it's the 6th biggest city in America or something like that. 6th or 7th biggest city. The Atlanta metropolitan area right now, I believe, has around 6 million people. So that's a pretty damn good sized city. And the construction here is non-stop. But over the last 5 years, I have had a very difficult time living here. I do not get along with some of these southern boys. I do not get along with, you know, some of these, you know, good old boy networks that they have here. And it's very difficult getting your foot in the door, especially with all of these stupid ass contractor laws that they have here. Most people don't know this, but it is damn near as difficult to get your contractor's license here in Georgia as it is in California. In fact, there's really not any difference when you look at it line for line. And that's bullshit. There's other terrible laws here in Georgia. I mean, you know, they're environmental laws, especially for guys like me that do a lot of excavation and demolition and stuff like that. You know, I mean, just their EPD laws, their environmental laws with, you know, asbestos inspections and silt fencing and all this other kind of bullshit that they have, rodent inspections. You know, I mean, you've really got to go through an exuberant amount of red tape to pull permits here. And it is fucking crazy. It is the stupidest system I have ever seen in my life. Now, I'm used to working in places like Texas and Kentucky and Ohio, places that don't even require general contractors to have any special licensing. In fact, in those states, anybody can go and build a house. Anybody can pull a permit. All you do when you go and pull the permit, you pay a county fee. You basically register with that county, and that's it. There's no testing. There's none of that. You know, I mean, there's no major government overreach. And this is one of the reasons why some of those states are so successful when it comes to small businesses, is because they're not out there trying to dictate who can do what and how you can do it. Okay, they believe in real entrepreneurship. They believe in letting people go out and make money the best way that they know how. It's not the government's job to play babysitter and to prevent people from doing what they can do to make money. It's not the good. In fact, the government is not supposed to be doing that. But in Georgia, they came down with these fancy, all kinds of special licensing for every single type of trade that there is. Now, I'm not opposed to having, some of the mechanical guys requiring licensing. If an electrician, but even them, man, I think that Georgia is way too extreme on, all the testing and all the other shit, the insurances and all this other, you got to have 25 years of experience. I mean, it's just fucking stupid. It is absolutely stupid. Here again, it is not the government's job to babysit the consumer and protect the consumer from businesses. That's not the government's job. It's not their role. So this is probably my biggest complaint that I have against Georgia. And this is probably my biggest complaint that I have against governors like Brian Kemp, who claims to be a small business advocate, right? I mean, everybody knows that he owns several small businesses up in Athens or wherever the fuck he's from. But for someone who claims to be a small business advocate, he sure has made it very, very difficult for small businesses to actually do what they got to do here. And I'm going to tell everybody something. People don't realize this. Big, huge companies, and I'm talking specifically about construction. Okay, I'm talking specifically about construction because that's what I'm in. Big, huge companies, they love it when governments put rules in place like requiring general contractors licensing. They love that. They're the ones who lobby for that shit because that takes away the small competition. And everybody knows that in business, in true capitalism, right, in the real world of entrepreneurialism, it's the small businesses that are the biggest threats because they're the ones that have the room to grow, right? Most big businesses are pretty well capped out. People don't seem to realize this. They don't seem to realize that when you have laws like general contractors laws, all it does, it protects those big businesses, it keeps them in power, and it prevents the small guys from being able to rise up and compete against them and eventually put them out of business. And that is not, that is actually the exact opposite of what our government is supposed to be doing. Right? That's socialism, when governments dictate who can stay in business and who can't. That's socialism. Okay, here again, states like Texas, states like Colorado, states like Kentucky and Ohio that do not have any general contractors licensing at all, the reason they thrive, the reason they can build a road in a month in Texas is because they don't have to have all kinds of special licensing to fucking do it. So in other words, the state has not created a monopoly system. Now obviously the bigger guys are all, they're going to have more resources to do bigger jobs anyway, right? They've got the money, they've got the backing. That's fine. But when you take away that natural competition, that's not protecting the public, man. That's protecting the government's pockets because they're being lobbied by these big companies specifically to enact those kind of laws. And I want people to understand that. It does not protect you as a consumer to hire a non-licensed company. Okay, it doesn't. In today's world, we have enough resources, right? We have online reviews, we have, better business bureaus, we have all kinds of things to protect people. Right, if a company does a bad job, or if a business is out there being dipshits, their reviews and their reputation is going to reflect that. Okay, this is why we have a legal system. If somebody, if a contractor gets out there and fucks somebody over, that client has legal resources that they can take, but it's not supposed to be a government protection system. So anyway, I want to get into a few things that will compel me to actually vote for a candidate. Now this year in Georgia, we have an interesting scenario coming up where David Perdue has just announced that he's going to be running against Brian Kemp in the primaries. And I personally think that that is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. Now, I don't like Brian Kemp, and I'll give you several reasons why here in a minute. I do not like Brian Kemp. I just explained my dissatisfaction with him when it comes to small business, but there's other things too. Brian Kemp is a fucking retard. I'll say it straight up. He's a retard. Just the way he talks is retarded. But David Perdue is no better. Okay, David Perdue is no better. And I'll tell you, everybody keeps telling me, they're saying, like, if you got such a problem with this, why don't you run for governor? And I'm telling you, I'm damn near thinking about it. I am damn near thinking about it. And I can tell you my platform, it would be a libertarian platform, and so I would never win in 100 million years. But I am damn near thinking about it. In fact, I am actually looking into the process to run for Georgia state governor. But here's the thing. If everybody remembers the last Senate election, right? So we had Kelly Loeffler, who was put in place by, basically like a special election type of thing. I can't remember what happened or who left. Somebody left. In fact, I can't even remember. I don't even remember what all happened. All I know is that Kelly Loeffler, okay, there again, the fucking most retarded ass woman on this planet. I don't even understand why we elected her to begin with, but I digress. So let's go back to the last gubernatorial election for Georgia. Brian Kemp barely won. People obviously have forgotten this, but he only won, right? It went into a runoff election, right? He was running against Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams and Governor Kemp basically tied. And so it went into a runoff election. Brian Kemp only won by just a little over 1%. I mean, I'm talking he barely won by the skin of his teeth. Now, obviously, Stacey Abrams never conceded, right? I mean, all this kind of shit went on. And it was a whole big thing all over Fox News for fucking 2 straight months. But to everybody out there, it should have been pretty fucking good evidence that Georgia is a purple state. It is not a red state, like everyone thinks it is. Obviously, the mass majority, here again, Atlanta Metro, like I just said earlier in the video, the Atlanta Metro has somewhere around 6 million people. The city of Atlanta Metro has more people than the entire rest of the state combined. So when you're taking Savannah, Macon, Columbus, and Augusta, all the other big cities in Georgia, even that population doesn't total what just the city of Atlanta has, the Atlanta Metro. And for anybody who's ever been to Atlanta, it's pretty damn good. It's pretty safe to say that Atlanta is a predominantly black state, right? I mean, Atlanta is a historically black city. I don't actually know what the demographic percentages are, but I'm pretty sure it's, probably about 55% black or 60% black, something like that. Most of the white people in the Atlanta Metro live up on the north side, right? Pretty much anywhere north of the 285 perimeter. So, like Woodstock, Canton, Cumming, that whole area up there, Alpharetta. That's where you got your high numbers of Caucasian people. And most of them are pretty liberal because they're, most of them are fairly educated people. They make a lot of money. And so they're not really on the conservative ticket either. Contrary to popular belief, I know that was one thing back when Brian Kemp was running the first time, is that he was like, oh, well, he's from Athens, which is, such a conservative stronghold. No, the fuck it's not, man. Athens is probably one of the most liberal places in Georgia. All right, you've got Georgia University there, the Bulldogs. Athens is not a bastion of conservatism. It is a very liberal place. It is a college city. And there again, most of the white people there are pretty damn liberal. So when I say that Brian Kemp really got lucky, I mean that wholeheartedly. He got lucky. Georgia is a purple state. And I'll tell you what's interesting now is now that David Perdue... Okay, so we got that covered, right? We got the last governor's election covered. Brian Kemp barely pulled it out. And I'll tell you, there were some other candidates that were so much better than him. You know, I mean, I can't remember the Army guy's name, but there was an Army Ranger that was running, and he would have been so much better than Brian Kemp. I mean, that dude would have been so much better. But Brian Kemp was able to, you know, he was able to kind of pull his money together. I mean, there again, he's the guy that's getting lobbied by all these other big businesses to keep some of these general contractors laws and all this other shit in place. And people don't even understand this kind of stuff. But I knew from the very beginning that Brian Kemp was going to be a retard. I still voted for him because he was, you know, obviously a lot better than the alternative. But I can tell you straight up that I can't stand the dude. And I definitely can't stand our Secretary of State, Raffensperger, whatever his name is, Raffensperger. And I am convinced that they completely fucked over Trump. I am convinced of that. I really am. But that aside, let's move forward to Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. So David Perdue got this ingenious idea that he was going to run for Kelly Loeffler's seat. Now, I've never liked Kelly Loeffler. I've always thought that she was garbage too. But it was better than having a Democrat in her seat. Okay, so they start running, and there again in the primaries this last time. And sure enough, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler started talking shit about each other, just like Republicans always do. I mean, you know, here I don't understand. If you're on the same fucking team, why do they got to sit there and go to war against each other like this, right? And there was some other guy. Who's the chaplain? Man, I can't even remember. But anyway, it was Loeffler against, or no, it wasn't even David Perdue. It was the chaplain guy. Anyway, her and this chaplain guy, dude's been a politician his whole life. Anyway, they went to war against each other, and it made the Republicans lose, and Warnock ended up taking over their spot. So two Republicans went to war against each other, and the damn Democrat ended up winning because everybody was so disgusted with the way that Kelly Loeffler was acting. And then check this out. The day after Kelly Loeffler, Trump had given her all kinds of support, man. All kinds of support. The day after Kelly Loeffler lost, she came out against Trump, talking all this shit about him. Man, I'm telling you, if I would have been Trump, I would have hired a fucking hitman. I'm telling you. Kelly Loeffler is the most garbage-ass person I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, fast forward to now, and now we've got damn near the same fucking scenario with David Perdue and Brian Kemp. David Perdue thinks he's going to come in, he thinks he's going to beat him out in the primaries, and then he thinks he's going to win the general election. Stacey Abrams is running again. So think about this. Think about this. Brian Kemp won by just 1% last time. And that was in a runoff election, right? That went into overtime. Like triple overtime, right? If Brian Kemp only won by 1%, how does David Perdue think he's going to get more than that? Okay? I mean, the dude, you know, people can say what they want, but the dude is basically the epitome of fucking big business. He is the epitome of lifelong government. He is, I mean, I hate to tell people this, but he is the fucking Republican swamp that everybody keeps talking about. He is no different from Brian Kemp, basically. He's been a lifelong politician. He has been a lifelong damn politician, man. And look, I get it, man. Trump is just trying to put the best people in there. I get it. But I just think that people, and I'm not advocating for Brian Kemp, believe me. I wish that he would have never won. I wish that some other Republican would have won his place. Anyway, let me go through a list real quick. Here's kind of the point of this whole video. You know, I look at politics very differently from people. I don't really see Republican or Democrat, because to me, they're all pieces of shit. To me, the Republicans are spineless. You know, they really are. They say they're going to do this and they say they're going to do that, but then they never do it. Okay? And that includes Trump, man. For all you fucking diehard Trump fans out there, there was a lot of things that Trump said he was going to do. He said he was going to clean the swamp, but yet he kept associating himself with piece of shit generals like fucking Miley and all these other, retarded ass generals that were known Democrats. Okay, I mean, seriously, man, Trump said he was going to do all these things, and he did a couple of good things. He brought a great economy back to us. But he also damn near doubled our fucking deficit. Okay, he started all this fucking unemployment shit by issuing stimulus checks. He started all these fucking lockdowns by, here, that's not really his fault, because he did leave it up to the governors. But man, he sure could have pushed a whole hell of a lot harder not to do it, don't you think? I mean, shit, man. Here's the point. To me, politics are kind of like WWF wrestling, right? Or WWE wrestling now, right? When they're in the ring, it's like they're mortal enemies, right? They're sitting there pretending like they're fighting each other. But that's all it is a show. Because behind closed doors, when those wrestlers get out of that ring, they're all best friends, man. They're all going to each other's weddings. Man, I can tell you a story about one time when I went to a WWF thing in Savannah, Georgia. I was so disappointed, man, because I saw Hulk Hogan and, who was the NWO? Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, right? So these three, they were all part of this NWO team. And they were mortal enemies against these other wrestlers. Man, I went around back. Me and a buddy went around back at the Civic Center there in Savannah just to kind of see if we could get some autographs or something. And all these guys were getting into the same damn limousine. They were all high-fiving. Oh, man, that was a great show. Right there is when it clicked. Politics is the exact same thing as WWF wrestling. On the stage, they act like they're mortal enemies. But when they get behind closed doors, these people, they're all being lobbied by the same damn people. They're all getting paid by the same damn, megacorps. They're fucking government puppets. That's what they are. They put on a good show, but behind closed doors, it's all the same shit. And this is where I say, I will vote for a Democrat just as quickly as I'll vote for a Republican. Because at the end of the day, I can't trust Republicans. At least with Democrats, at least they stay true to what they say they're going to do. This is why it's so amazing when everybody seems shocked when Democrats actually follow through with their socialist agenda. It's like, man, they've been telling you that they were going to do that for 100 years. You shouldn't be shocked that they actually follow through with what they say they're going to do. What you should be shocked at is when these dumb shit Republicans say that they're going to do something, they make a promise, and then they back down the minute that they get into the ring. That's what you should be truly shocked over. And that's what you should be standing up against. Here's my 10 items that I will not vote for any candidate. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, I will not vote for any candidate unless they advocate for all 10 of these stipulations. These are my stipulations, right? So, if anybody ever asks, if Eric Erickson ever calls you and says, hey man, what are your 10 stipulations, or what do you think we should be voting on? You can say, Eric Erickson, go to wienerfight.com and you'll see this shit on his video. Okay, so my number one stipulation for Georgia, this is for Georgia. My number one stipulation that will compel me to vote for a candidate, whether it's David Perdue or Brian Kemp or Stacey Abrams or whoever the fuck else is going to be running for governor here, maybe even myself. Number one, we need to have constitutional carry in this state. I don't know why the fuck any red state out there doesn't already have this. This includes Florida, right? Governor DeSantis is out there talking about how he's considering doing constitutional carry. Listen, if you are pretending to be a Republican, if you are pretending to be a red state person, then this should have already happened many fucking years ago. Okay, constitutional carry. I should not need a concealed carry permit. I should not need a permit to open carry. I've got this funny thing called the Second Amendment, which is the only fucking permit that I need. And all of you so-called conservative governors out there, you need to pull your heads out of your ass, stop playing WWF politics, and you need to fucking get constitutional carry passed in your state. That is the number one thing. If you can't do that, I am not voting for you. Period. Number two, if you're a state governor, you need to start advocating to get rid of your state income tax. Here again, this is absolutely non-negotiable. We have what? We got 10 states that do not have state income tax. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 states. We got Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, Wyoming, and New Hampshire does not have a tax earned or a wages earned tax. They do have a form of income tax, but that's more for the corporate side. Okay, so basically Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. Those are 8 states. So here again, Florida did the right thing. Florida has never had a state income tax. Neither has Texas. Neither has Washington State. Neither has Alaska. The other states that I mentioned are fairly new. They passed those just recently within probably the last 10 years. But here's the thing. Taxation is theft. It's that simple. Now, I'm not saying that the government can't come up with some sort of way to tax people or to earn revenue. But income tax is not ever since the 16th Amendment has been passed, we're talking over 100 years now, people have to remember that this country was literally formed on a 3-cent tax on tea. The British was not taxing anybody else on anything else except that one thing. And that is what pissed off people enough for them to revolt. And that is what caused the American Revolution. Some of us know it as the Boston Tea Party. Okay? How did we get to this point where we are allowing ourselves to be taxed for every single fucking thing that we do? To include earning money. I mean, seriously, people, when the fuck are you going to wake up and start getting... This country was formed by a group of people that had a problem with a 3-cent tax. That was an import tax. That was a tariff. That wasn't even that wasn't an income tax. It wasn't a sales tax. That was a fucking import tax. That's what created this country. So that's going to be the second thing that I will only vote for a governor who advocates to get rid of the Georgia state income tax. The next thing that I will vote for a governor for is if he advocates to get rid of this state ad valorem tax. So for all of you people who are not from Georgia, here again, there's only a few other states that do this. I think Texas and Virginia. I don't know. I don't have the list of all the states that do this. But basically, in Georgia, when you buy a vehicle or when you bring a vehicle in from a different state, they charge you what is called an ad valorem tax to register that vehicle. And it's basically like 10 or 15% of that vehicle's worth. So it doesn't matter. Let's say you buy a vehicle, a piece of crap vehicle for $1,500, right? It's missing a motor and a transmission. The state of Georgia doesn't care about that. They base the vehicle's value based. Register your vehicle here. They pull up Kelley Blue Book. They say, oh shit, you got a... I mean, I'll just use an example. Like I brought a 2004 Dodge Ram here when I moved here. I moved here from Kentucky. And I brought one of my company vehicles. Well, I brought a bunch of them. Anyway, this 2004 Dodge Ram literally did not even have a transmission in it. I pulled it here. And the state of Georgia still charged me $600 fucking dollars to register this vehicle. And that's the next thing is in Georgia, if you own a vehicle, you have to have it insured. It doesn't matter if it's sitting in your backyard for 10 years. If that vehicle is registered, you have to insure it. And that is absolute bullshit. But this ad valorem tax is straight fucking lunacy. I mean, I don't even agree with having to re-register your vehicles every year. To me, you should only have to register your vehicle one time. Right? I mean, it's your fucking vehicle. Why do you have to re-register it every year after year after year after year? You should have to register it one time. Okay, and that's it. There should be no new fucking yearly tags or any of that shit. Every state out there says, oh, well, we charge that money so that we can maintain our roads. No, bullshit. They charge that money, and here in Georgia, they charge this ad valorem tax so that they can employ thousands and thousands of people working at the fucking, at the tag office. That's what that money goes to. It's a fucking government system. That's how they pay for themselves. That's how they pay for their salaries, their fucking, vacation days, their health benefits, and most of all, their fucking retirement. That's how they do that, is by charging you a yearly fee on something that you already fucking own. It's almost as bad as property taxes, but I digress. My point is that I will only support a governor who advocates to get rid of this state ad valorem tax. Now, everybody always asks me, and they say, well, how is Georgia going to generate this money that they need then? Well, my first suggestion would be to, maybe get rid of some state and county employees that are really not necessary. But my next suggestion would be, I will advocate, or I will promote a governor who advocates to legalize marijuana. This is not fucking rocket science, people. Prohibition does not work. The war on drugs has been the biggest fucking hoax in American history, right next to the coronavirus. Okay, when you look at states like Washington State and Colorado, the amount of revenue that they have made, if they want to tax something, they should be able to tax marijuana. Tax alcohol, tax marijuana, and tax tobacco. That's fine. If you want to tax something, tax that shit to the fucking top. I'm perfectly okay with that kind of a tax. Okay? Do you know how much money Colorado has generated just in the last 10 years? I mean, I did an episode on this called the marijuana hoax. And I don't even have the number in front of me, but it has been fucking trillions of dollars. Maybe not trillions, but it's been several hundred billion. I mean, basically by them legalizing marijuana, not only has their mortality rates gone down, believe it or not, their fucking traffic accidents have gone down the whole 9 yards. There's been less domestic abuse cases in Colorado, and they have generated so much revenue, their state is in a surplus now. And that's a fucking blue state. So they're spending a lot of money. But they are actually in a surplus now. Colorado doesn't even need to tax people anymore for anything. Their property taxes have gone down. Their fucking, their state income tax has gone down. Most people don't know this. Colorado actually has a flat tax. They always have. I think it's like 4% or something like that. And it's actually a very good system. It's a flat tax. But they've actually been able to decrease taxes because of their marijuana revenue. And anybody who doesn't agree with this is not a real conservative, man. I hate to tell you this. Here again, it is not the government's job to tell you what you can and can't do. As long as you're not hurting somebody else, okay, that doesn't mean about to hurt. That means as long as you are literally not hurting somebody else, the government does not have the right to tell you what you can and can't do in the privacy of your own home. If you want to be in your house giving yourself motherfucking coffee enemas, that is your business. That is not the government's business to try to dictate to you what you can and can't do. The same thing goes, I don't give a fuck if you want to go and shoot yourself up with heroin. As long as you are not hurting somebody else, and as long as you are a consenting adult, the government does not have the authority to tell you what you can and can't do in the privacy of your own home. So for the government not to legalize this kind of stuff is really fucking stupid. And here again, man, all you so-called pretend conservatives out there, you're not conservative at all. If you're allowing the government to dictate what you can and can't do, or dictate what other people can and can't do, you are not a conservative. That is, here, do any of you even understand what the word conservative means? Okay, it means to conserve. It means to conserve the way that our founding fathers believed this country should be. Okay? Our founding fathers didn't believe in government control. They didn't believe in the government telling people what kind of businesses they could have, or how much they were going to get taxed for owning a fucking car. We have gotten so far away from what our founding fathers designed that it is absolutely ridiculous, man. I don't think that 99% of you even have ever read the fucking Constitution or Bill of Rights. I honestly don't think that any of you actually know what the word conservative even means. Because you are doing the same fucking thing that these leftists are doing by trying to control people. I'm going to go to the next one. Okay? The next one, number 5, is I will support a governor who advocates to get rid of these general contractors licensing. There again, I talked about that in the beginning. If you're trying to tell me how I can provide for my family, then I'm not going to support you. It's that simple. I don't give a shit if a woman wants to go out and be a prostitute. That is her fucking God-given right. She shouldn't need the government's permission. Here again, as long as she's not physically hurting somebody, and as long as she's a consenting adult, that should be her fucking choice. There is enough technology in today's world that if a person is bad business, their reputation will precede them. And people won't hire them. We have a legal system to combat against bad business as well. It is not the government's responsibility to try to tell people how to fucking earn money. And the fact that so many of you are okay, ask yourself a question. Ask yourself just one question. What would George Washington have said if somebody came up to him and said, hey, George, you cannot be a hemp farmer? What do you think he would have said to them? What do you think he would have done? Or what do you think he would have said if somebody came up to him and said, hey, George, you need to register with your state in order to grow hemp. You have to register your business and you have to get your state's approval or your county's approval before you can do the business that you've chosen to do. What do you think George Washington would have said? I can guarantee that he would have put his size 12 boot right up somebody's ass. Next point, number 6. I will support a governor that is willing to get rid of all mask and vaccine mandates. Here again, Governor Kemp, blowing up his fucking big smoke screen that he did back in August of 2021, signing his executive order. Here's the thing. Most people don't realize this. His executive order still left it up the decision to local governments, to local municipalities and counties. Okay, you remember that whole big thing where the mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, threatened to sue Governor Kemp? And Governor Kemp came out all strong and said, I'm the governor. I'm going to make an executive order so that nobody has to wear masks. Well, guess what? In his executive order, he made it so that no small... In his order, he put in there that a business could not mandate a mask or a vaccine. But he didn't put it in there that local governments couldn't do that. So like in my county, still to this day, if I go to the courthouse, they require me to put on a fucking mask unless I can show proof that I had the vaccine. That is a fucking vaccine passport. And that's bullshit. Guess what? It's the same thing in Florida. Governor DeSantis talking all this big shit like he's some fucking hard-hitting, Guess what? It's the same thing. Even in his executive order, local governments can still decide to fucking either make mask or vaccine mandates. Once again, the only governor in this country that didn't do that is the governor from South Dakota, Kristi Noem. She's the only governor in this entire country that was brave enough to say 100% there is no mask or vaccine mandate allowed in her entire state. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what business you are, doesn't matter what local government you are. It is 100% not allowed in South Dakota. Okay? Governor Kemp and Governor DeSantis should be kicked right in their fucking hairless nuts for even pretending like they've tried to stop this shit. It's, here again, man, it's fucking WWF politics. It's WWF politics. In the ring, they're fighting and screaming at each other, pretending like they're mortal fucking enemies. But behind closed doors, it's a different story. Number 7, I'll support a governor who is willing to get rid of the Georgia state motorcycle helmet laws. Here again, we're talking about basic freedom. I even feel this way about seatbelts. But specifically, I will not support a governor. Here again, we're talking about so-called conservatives. Right? I will not support a governor that wants to take that kind of freedom away from people. Get rid of the motorcycle helmet laws here. Let freedom be legal again. Okay? Number 8, I want them to get rid of the hands-free law. This weekend when I went down to Florida, I was pleasantly pleased to see that Florida does not have a hands-free law. Man, this law just passed here in Georgia a couple, I think in 2018, I think is when it passed, something like that, 2018 or 2019. And this is the most garbage-ass law that we have. Here again, it's the fucking nanny state trying to protect people from other people. We have laws to combat against other crimes, to combat against higher crimes. Enough, man. These fucking public safety laws need to stop. Okay, there's actually been studies that have shown that more people have gotten into car crashes since this law is passed than having the opposite effect. Okay? Every day when I drive up into Atlanta, I still see these fucking retarded ass women driving in their cars, putting their makeup on while they're driving. Okay, I still see people out there, and I do this too, man, because I'll have a burrito in one hand and something else in my other hand, driving with my meat. Here's the thing. These kind of archaic, tyrannical fucking public safety laws do not work. They are created to generate revenue. When you have laws like this, it generates revenue for the police departments out there, the police agencies that are out there enforcing these laws. Does everybody notice how nowadays, you know, when you're out on the highway, it's not just the highway patrol. I mean, I don't support the fucking state trooper DPS department as it is. But nowadays, when you go out onto the highways, it's not just the state troopers that are out there pulling people over, right? You got your county sheriff cars out there. You got your city police cars that are out there. I mean, hell, the other day I even saw a fucking county. I can't remember if it was a constable or a marshal. I don't know what state I was in, but it was a county marshal that had somebody pulled over on the fucking road. That's not their job. Okay, it's not the county sheriff's job to be out there fucking patrolling highways. That's not their job. We are the only country in the world that literally has entire agencies dedicated to street safety. All right? It's bullshit. It needs to stop. That's one of the things. Hand-free laws. I will support a governor who is willing to get rid of that. Number 9, I will support a governor who is willing and able to get rid of these homeschool registration laws. Most people don't know this, but in Georgia, you actually have to follow a state curriculum. And I'm not down with that. It's not the government's, and I made an episode on this, right, called The Education Hoax. It is not the government's responsibility to educate my kids, and it's not the government's responsibility to tell me how to educate my kids. Get the fuck out of my personal life. Stop telling me what I need to do to appease you. Okay? I don't need your permission. So I will support a governor who is willing to advocate for freer homeschooling situations, because I'm telling you, and I'll say this again, man, if you've got your kids in public school, then you are part of the problem. Straight up. And number 10, I will support a governor who is willing to get rid of these fucking stupid emission testing laws here. Man. So this makes no fucking sense. So in the state of Georgia, you've got like 10 counties or something like that, all within the Atlanta metro area, who are all required to do yearly emissions testing before you can pay the money, right, to own your own car, right, to re-register it, right? So I guess the government thinks that they're doing us a favor, first of all, by making us pay to re-register something that we already own. But then on top of that, I guess they think they're doing us a favor by making us do these emission testing laws. And obviously, if your car doesn't pass, then you can't get your car re-registered. Here again, this is straight fucking communism. This is straight... This is worse than George Orwell's 1984. Okay, this concept that the government can tell you what to drive, when to drive, how to drive it is absolute bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. I don't need to prove... It's kind of funny because I drive a diesel truck, so I don't have to get emissions. Right? It's like... Are you honestly sitting here trying to tell me that my diesel truck doesn't blow out more emissions than every other vehicle? Now, I'm not saying that I ever want to have to get emissions. I'm saying that nobody should need emissions. If you want to take your car and get it emission tested, that should be, you should have the freedom to do that. If you want to make sure that your car is up to standards and that your catalytic converter is working properly, if you want to do your part, then that's fine. You should be allowed to do that. Okay, but all of these environmental protection laws, here again, Georgia has got some fucking stupid environmental laws. They really do. And I'm starting to wonder if it's really a red state or if it's always been a blue state. Here again, it's WWF wrestling. So, anyway, people, listen, man. These are the kinds of things that people need to start voicing their opinions about. I am actually going to send this list with detailed descriptions to Governor Kemp's office. I'm going to send this list to David Perdue's office, and I'm probably going to send the same shit to Stacey Abrams. Whatever governor can support these 10 things, I will vote for them. If a governor can't support these 10 things or won't support these 10 things, doesn't matter if they support 9 of them and just not the 10th thing, I will not vote. I will not vote for anybody. That is my vote. And guess what? Unlike the rest of you dumb motherfuckers out there, I've actually earned the right to vote how the fuck I want to vote. I've bled for this fucking country. I'm not going to be forced to vote any other way than how I want to vote for it. This subject is touchy for me. This is why I hate talking about politics. Because, man, I don't understand how so many of you can be so damn stupid. And I mean that wholeheartedly, man. Some of you are straight up stupid. You are uninformed. You do not even understand the issues that are at play. And then you get pissed off when shit doesn't go the way you want it to go. My dude Rush Limbaugh always used to say that elections have consequences. And that is the truest thing that has ever been said. Here's the problem. This country has been on a socialist path for at least the last 105 years since the passing of the 16th Amendment. And I don't care what all of you say, when we have things like public education, public police, public firefighters, public hospitals, okay, that is all part of a socialist engine. It requires tax dollars to fund those things. And anytime you start taking tax dollars indiscriminately, for whatever the fuck you want to take tax dollars for, that means that America is no longer a constitutional republic. That means that we are now a fucking democratic socialist society. So stop voting in these fucking shithead conservatives that are sitting there pretending to be conservative while they're on stage. Stop voting these motherfuckers in that as soon as they get behind closed doors, they're buddy-buddy with all their fucking Democrat friends. Stop voting these stupid motherfuckers in. Or just don't vote at all. Since they've obviously got a system that's going to win anyway. And that is what I have to say about this. Like always, here again, let me go through these states one more time that do not have state income tax. Because I can promise you within the next year, I will be moving to one of these states. If shit doesn't change in Georgia, especially if Stacey Abrams wins, I will absolutely be leaving Georgia. I will be taking my business with me. And apparently that's actually a trend. I just learned yesterday on our way back from Florida that Georgia is actually losing people this year instead of gaining people, which is kind of interesting because there's still such a high demand for construction and housing and all that stuff. But anyway, here are the states that do not have state income tax. Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, Wyoming, and New Hampshire is kind of a 50-50 thing. These are also on the list for being the freest states in America, believe it or not. I mean, I don't agree with Texas because Texas has got some fucking stupid-ass laws. And I don't agree with Washington because Washington is just as liberal as California. But when it comes to freedom, when it comes to business freedom, here's the thing. Remember when I told everybody that there is no more important freedom than financial freedom? Okay, that's the ability to go out and make as much money as you want to make. When you have a government that restricts that, you are no longer free. No other freedom matters. If you can't go out and make as much money as you want to make, then no other freedom matters. And guess what? When you're restricted by things like general contractors laws, when you're restricted by things like income tax, those things take away your financial freedom. Along with your other God-given rights that people should have the freedom to do. Nobody should be told what kind of business they should be able to have as long as you're not hurting other people and as long as it's revolved around consenting adults. So, let's talk about this shit, man. I want people to start waking up. I want people to start waking up. Let me know your thoughts. Let's talk about it, and we'll see you next time.